This episode may contain content that could be distressing or objectionable to certain listeners. Please refer to the episode show notes for details. Discretion is advised. Hello, listeners. Welcome to Your Movie, My Movie with Dan and Steve.
I'm Dan.
I'm Steve. Also with us today is cinematographer and filmmaker Alice.
Hi, I'm Alice.
This is a podcast where one of us picks a movie to watch and we discuss it together. In this episode, we're talking about one of Alice's picks, the 1986 movie Highlander, starring Christopher Lambert, Roxanne Hart, Clancy Brown, and Sean Connery. Screenplay by Gregory Wyden, Peter Bellwood, and Larry Ferguson, and was directed by Russell Mulcahy. We will be talking about spoilers, so if you want to watch the movie first, now's the time to do so. But before we talk about the movie, Dan, who would you recommend this movie for?
I would recommend this movie to people who haven't seen this movie before and who think it might be of interest to them.
Wonderful. Alice, who would you recommend this movie to?
I would recommend this movie to people like me who are massive Queen fans.
Okay.
With one of the greatest soundtracks ever of all time, perhaps greater than Flash Gordon.
Well, when you say Queen fans, you mean the rock and roll band, right?
Of course.
Okay. just making sure. I would recommend this movie to NASCAR drivers because Highlander is like just the greatest movie ever. And only people who have watched Talladega Nights will get that reference.
Don't put that evil on me.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you do that to me.
There can be only one, and now there are three.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot more Highlanders than just this movie. But we'll talk about. You want to talk about the expanded franchise, Alice?
Sure, we can get into that.
Okay.
We can sink our teeth in.
Okay, wonderful. So Alice, this was your pick.
Uh-huh.
Why did you pick this movie?
I picked this movie because I'm a massive Queen fan, and I grew up watching this movie before I could even read.
Really?
This is something that my brother always had on in the background through his life.
Okay.
I don't know if there's ever a point prior to a few years ago where I actually sat down to watch the whole thing start to finish.
Okay.
But it is still a movie that I've seen every second of multiple times over.
Right.
And there's a lot of little things that jump out at me and I guess kind of filter the way that I experience the world of this movie. Because I experienced this movie in a very different context than most people, right? In that sense, I've never sat to see it, but
until this time.
Until this time.
Okay.
But also, it's something where it's I saw this way after it came out, and I don't have the kind of I guess sort of teenage boy sword fighting love for this movie.
Like I do. Well, most of my teenage sword fighting days, love, it's not for the movie, it's for the TV show.
Right.
Because, there's only so many times you can watch a 2-hour movie like this. But holy smokes, having a 1-hour episode, I would come home after school and I would watch the TV show, every day after school on USA. So yeah, that's why I have very fun memories of the Highlander franchise.
Yeah, there's also something about this particular kind of movie where it sits at a particular moment in time, and you can say that about a lot of movies, right? Like a lot of movies are of their era or of their time, but there's something about like a Russell Mulcahy movie in 1986 that went into production in like 1984.
Okay.
In the sense that like this whole movie, even beyond the Queen stuff, is so like shot like a music video. And like Russell Mulcahy is the OG MTV music video guy. Like he literally had the first music video on MTV with Video Killed the Radio Star. And then he had like Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf, Fleetwood Mac's Gypsy. And he had videos for Elton John. He did Total Eclipse of the Heart. Like all of these movies or all these music videos were like his 80s career. Like he had done other things, but like he was the one of the MTV kings. And like this is such a movie where it's like, oh, of course. Of course they get like in that moment of time, they would get the king of MTV to make this movie.
Yeah.
And I think there's like, love it or hate it, there's like little bits and pieces of that in every shot, on every frame, from like the swinging camera on like the wrestling match fight to the way they like stage and choreograph the fights and like the smoke, and it's so
the electrified swords, which I'm sure were not OSHA approved.
Right.
Especially in the climactic battle scene where there's water all over the place.
But like even just like that, the backdrop of the final fight where you know, with like the big backlit windows inside that building, and it's just like a totally like empty, almost like warehouse looking kind of loft building. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, this is where I've seen every like dance choreography ever. Yeah. This is such like a 80s music video movie. And I think that really adds to something about like I don't know if I'm allowed to be annoying, like the mise en place of like putting together like for all intents and purposes is like a sci-fi fantasy sword fighting movie. And making it like the most 80s thing possible. There's
a lot to unpack in this movie, especially the cinematography. But before we get into that, so Alice, me and Dan, we have a new part of the show.
Okay.
Where you know, we've had trouble, you know, talking mostly about the plot and not getting to everything else. So now what we do is we do a 2-minute summary of the plot, and then we talk about whatever we want. Usually that's Daniel's job. But you picked this movie, so, you know, why don't you give a 2-minute summary of the plot?
Okay, don't put a timer on me.
I'll do a stopwatch. Okay, and I'll just tell you when you're up. How about that?
Okay.
It has to be 2 minutes.
I'll do my best.
Okay, that's all you have to do. Just do your best. Okay. Okay, let me get the timer. Okay. Go.
Beginning in ancient times, there are immortal men who walk the earth. These men are destined to kill each other to the last man in an event known as the Gathering. And as they kill each other, they have this sort of like life force that connects them to the mind and dreams of all men. And as they decapitate each other, they accelerate towards this event called the Gathering. And when the last immortal is struck down, and only one of them remains, then he will absorb enough of this power to, I don't know, I guess I have it all, win the prize, right? And that will connect him to all of the life of mankind. And our main character, Connor MacLeod, is born in 16th century Scotland, and he is not aware that he has this power until he is slain in battle by another immortal, a much older immortal named Kurgan, or Kurgan, if you're Sean Connery. And Kurgan knows that MacLeod is an immortal and therefore wants to kill him, wants to cut off his head so that he can be the last one remaining. And of course, McLeod survives this attempt on his life, which leads him to discover that he's in fact an immortal and shares this destiny as well. And he trains alongside Sean Connery and will spend the next 4 centuries building towards this climactic event, The Gathering, this final battle for the last immortal to gain the prize of knowledge and connectivity with other life. And it all culminates in a big fight in New York City.
Thank you. That was great.
Was it?
That was great.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's about it. But there's so much more. There's so much more to this movie. So like the first thing we need to get out of the way is how, hold on, what's Christopher Lambert's nationality? Is he?
He's Scottish.
Oh, no, Christopher Lambert. No, like the actor.
Yeah. He's Scottish.
Apparently, he's French by birth. He's part French, part American by birth.
Yeah.
But he was raised in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So we have a Swiss man playing a Scotsman, and we have a Scotsman playing an Egyptian,
Spanish,
who's pretending to be a Spaniard.
Right. But is actually a master of metallurgy and makes all the best swords.
Wait, is that him or is that?
Well, he's the metal.
His father-in-law.
He is.
Oh yeah, because he's
the chief metallurger of the King of Spain.
But maybe he learned it from
his father-in-law, who's the genius who folded
Masamune.
Yeah, Masamune.
Okay.
Who I believe is a real-life samurai. You might have to Google that.
Yeah, I know that he's like legendary in Japan, but mostly from anime. So,
right.
Take that for what that's worth.
And he made this amazing katana 5 centuries before the Japanese were making that katana in the real world Middle Ages.
Well, what it was is it was the folding technique. They folded it several times, well, like 200 times, in order to strengthen the steel because Japan has really bad steel and
like really bad iron.
Yeah. So yeah, that's funny. Sean Connery being an Egyptian, pretending to be an Egyptian, pretending to be a Spaniard. Yeah,
there's something I picked up on. Which is the swords.
Okay.
The first sword that we see in the movie is the Toledo Salamanca,
who belongs to a guy named Fasil.
Imran Fasil.
Okay, yeah,
Imran.
Oh, spell it.
Imran, I believe. Imran. Imran Fasil.
Imran.
Yeah,
with my southern accent.
Enron Fasil.
Okay.
Easy Enron.
Fasil. Okay. I looked it up. That is an Arabic name, and the actor who plays Fasil is not someone who, looking at him, one would think would be of Arabic origin because he is whiter than Christopher Lambert. He even has that really light blonde hair. But things have happened. There's that famous Dennis Hopper speech from True Romance. So maybe that's what happened. But I kind of love that this movie, what I'm sure is what happened is that they wrote him to be a Muslim, but they weren't going to hire an Arabic guy. So they got that guy instead or something like that.
Or I think they just, as they did with all of the other characters, have a very, very loose approach to ethnicity.
Well, yeah. Well, this is also done by Canon Films.
Yeah.
Okay. But
was Canon doing the casting on this production?
Well, they famously did Delta Force with Robert Foster or Robert Forster as an Arab terrorist. The guy, the Chicago guy from Jackie Brown playing an Arab terrorist.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they were pretty good. I mean, they played. They casted. They did good casting with Castigier, who's I think he's the MVP of the movie. What do you think?
Well, he's in it for like just a moment. Right?
Yeah, he's like the Boba Fett of Highlander.
Yeah, but
right?
he really sells the character down to like his posture and his robes and the way he carries himself. It's like, oh yeah, you're 2,000 years old.
Yeah, and that huge ass flask of his. That is a huge fucking flask.
Puts hair on your chest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just boom boom.
Yeah, so he's got Facile has the Toledo Salamanca.
He's dressed like a chauffeur.
Yes.
and they're at Madison Square Garden for a wrestling match.
When the Atlanta Freebirds or whatever coming out with their Confederate flag robe.
Yeah.
To throw down against
doing that really, really slow, sultry disrobe. Showing, we could do a whole episode about how gay wrestling is. Well, yes. Yes. So yeah, well, the opening image of this movie, it is the text with Sean Connery narrating it, just to give the audience, a bit of a clue as to what's going on. Mentioning the let's see, yeah, talking about the gathering and so forth, and then that's when the absolute best theme song of all time plays.
Here we are, born to be king.
We're the princes of the universe. Yeah. That played at the beginning of every episode of the Highlander TV show, and I never skip it when I stream it.
See, I think the outro song, "A Kind of Magic," that's more my jam.
Okay.
Anyway, Swards. So he's got this like very like ornate kind of like Renaissance era, perhaps Moorish kind of like Spanish sword.
Yeah.
And then, Ramirez has
a katana. Yeah.
That he's had for quite some time.
Yeah.
And then McLeod starts with his Scottish like Highlander sword.
Yeah. Is it a claymore?
Yeah,
sword?
he's got his claymore. But he leaves that in the earth with
to be a grave marker for
his deceased wife. Right.
Yeah.
And then he picks up the katana and never gets any other sword ever again. Right?
Yes.
I mean, certainly has collected other ones. They're in his house.
Well, they might be trophies from other immortals, and you can't leave a sword laying right next to a beheaded body.
Meanwhile,
it's got to go somewhere.
And I think all of these kind of like imbue a bit of like personality.
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
because Facile the chauffeur has the big, beautiful ornate sword,
and he does amazing backflips through his
Oh yeah,
did you see the backflips? He
just oh yeah. He does the kind of acrobatics that's like characteristic of like Chinese immortal fantasy,
or teenage gymnastic Olympians.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Kurgan is like so much more like almost like barbaric, simple, brutal, and he went to fucking build a sword workshop.
Yeah, he has a portable sword. He has a portable sword
in a briefcase.
Yeah, in a briefcase.
And clearly, no one else has this problem because they can just hide their shit in a coat. But he's got like
that is a big ass sword. I mean, bigger than
the claymore or the katana.
Yeah, definitely bigger than the katana. So, yeah.
But it,
I love my favorite part of that whole Build-A-Bear scene is when he rolls the hilt around his arms for no reason whatsoever. Just be cool.
There's so much little detail in Kurgan. I mean, of course, he has the bone armor that of what looks like to be he's wearing a saber-toothed tiger or something.
He looks like the evil general from Willow in that armor.
Yeah. But when we see him 450 years later,
He's a punk.
Well, he's a punk with chainmail.
Yeah.
And he's wearing Ramirez's earring. Like,
oh, that's right.
If you watch, he has a trophy hanging from like the zipper of his jacket or his like vest, his leather waistcoat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Ramirez's like big earring. But like he's got like this like sort of Mad Max one leather sleeve, and on the other one chainmail that's been cut off at some point.
Right.
And then later through the movie, he has what look like pins, like holding his
throat together.
Yeah,
because it's over the scar that Ramirez gave him. Yeah, badass.
And of course, he like his idea of disguise is shave my head.
Yeah, but it's like very chunky. There's a lot of chunks of hair, but it's like,
and he left the rat tail.
Yeah. But it's like he's also just so gregarious. Mm-hmm. You know, people are going to notice him anyway.
I am but a worm.
Yeah. That's another favorite part with the Kurgan, because Connor shows up, goes to a Catholic church because when his wife Heather died, he promised to light a candle for her birthday to remember her by. Mm-hmm. So he goes to a Catholic church and lights a candle for Heather and also Ramirez. Mm-hmm. So he's sitting in the pew, and then the Kurgan comes along and he just puts out all those candles like a little jerk. Because like I'm Southern Baptist. So I don't know Catholicism, but is it like, you light a candle for like a prayer? Do you know?
I don't intimately know.
Okay.
However, there's an interesting detail here.
Okay.
Because they show that he like specifically goes into a Catholic church, right?
Yeah. And he's Scottish.
But from a time that's pre-Reformation.
Okay.
Before the Church of Scotland became Presbyterian.
Oh, okay.
Because that was, a few decades thereafter.
Okay.
Read up on Mary, Queen of Scots.
Right.
Catholic conspiracy, and Scotland would become Presbyterian circa the English Civil War. So about a little less than 100 years after he first gets the sword thrust into him.
Right.
Which maybe is pretty close in time to when Heather dies. Mm-hmm. But because exactly how old she is when she dies of old ages, we don't know.
At the beginning, there's the Catholic priest who slits the throat of the enemy, and does forgive me and says the last rites over them.
So he's not only is he so old, he's as a Scottish man, he's so old he's Catholic Scottish.
Yeah, right. That's true. And speaking of that, so I looked up what Kurgan means.
Right, from the Proto-Indo-European kind of steppe tribe.
Yeah, and apparently it's like a burial mound.
Yeah. North of like the Caspian Sea.
Okay.
And like I guess like sort of like the Urals, east of the Urals. I guess very close to like places like Armenia, Azerbaijan.
Mm-hmm, right.
Southern part of like Russia, Siberia. There's like a Kurgan Oblast.
Okay.
But like Kurgan as like a term, anthropologically speaking, is like one of the hypotheses for like the origin of like Indo-European like cultures and people, and like we all speak in this part of the world, in the Western Hemisphere, Indo-European languages, right? Starting from Sanskrit and going all the way up to like Slavic languages, Romance language, and Germanic languages. All of these, and even some like Central Asian languages are Indo-European languages.
Okay.
As opposed to like Afro-Asiatic or Semitic languages and these other things. And so like it's just like another way of like signaling that the Kurgan is so old.
He's old.
He's old enough to be a hypothesis.
Right. As old as languages.
Right.
Basically. Yeah. So this movie did its homework, it seems, which is nice. It really makes it feel like a world, the kind of world that one could explore in a longer medium such as television.
Don't get me wrong. It has more liberties than it doesn't with this research. In order to serve its fantastical,
not going to let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Right. They're going to be as fantastical as they want to be.
I mean, this is a movie where the gathering is apparently him being lifted up by animated ghost demons.
So my read on that is it seems like it's the souls of the other immortals in a way. Maybe you say, I mean, demons, but like maybe.
Well, some are bad.
They all sleep in hell now. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's
how revolting.
Well, that actually gets explored in the TV show.
Oh, well, I haven't seen the TV show.
Well, you've got to watch the TV show because, like, what happens is, so you have good Highlanders and evil Highlanders.
Of course.
And so the good Highlanders, they'll kill, all these evil Highlanders, and they'll, suck in the soul, absorb the soul. Yes.
Are they Highlanders or Immortals?
I'm calling them Highlanders.
I thought Fox McCloud was the Highlander.
Fox McCloud is the furry, isn't he? The barrel rolls. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he could be. He's the. I'm sure he's a Highlander. That could be like his code name, Highlander. But there is an animated series for Highlander. Did you know that? And it has the not Kurgan.
What's he called?
I can't think off the top of my head. This was like back in the 90s, a long time ago.
So when you say anime, is it like
no, it's
animated?
Well, no, it's animated. Like, so it's Western. I actually think it's like French animation, but
this was Studio Canal, so maybe it's the same.
Yeah. Studio Canal might have been the animation for it, but it was English language.
I see.
So yeah. But the thing is, because it's a kids show. Okay. So what happens in that animated TV show is that there was an apocalypse. And so there are a couple of immortals that have like survived, and like some of them are trying to keep that old knowledge alive because it's a new dark age, except for the not Kurgan who wants to rule the world. So the not Kurgan is trying to find the hidden immortals so that he can get their knowledge of technology. But I think his name is Quentin McLeod. He's a teenager, and he has a younger sister. I don't know if they're biological. But Ramirez is his mentor. And so what Ramirez is trying to do is get him to meet up with the other immortals. And then they can willingly do a quickening in which they give up their immortality along with their knowledge and their power. Because it's a kid's show, and you can't have all those beheadings on it.
You can save one beheading for the final episode.
Well, you do all the beheadings off screen.
Right.
Yeah.
You just see the head roll into camera.
No. You don't show. You cut away to an exterior shot, and then
right.
Yeah.
I think you can do the beheadings now. They do them on Star Wars.
Maybe now, but not back then.
Right.
Not back then. Back then, they had on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Mm-hmm. They had cops with laser guns.
Right, because you can't shoot someone.
Exactly. They didn't want to show gun violence on a kid's show, so they just gave them laser guns.
Well, clearly they didn't watch Batman the Animated Series because...
That is true, but that's also intended for something of an older audience.
Is it? So,
tweens more than,
right.
Kids. So.
There is something interesting to like, I guess like in my head, Highlander meets Mad Max, kind of.
That's kind of what the cartoon was trying to be, but in like a kid-friendly version.
Right, with elements of Canicle for Leibowitz.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There can only be one Brotherhood of Steel.
Yes. So let's see. Okay. Do you want to talk about the cinematography for a bit?
Sure.
Okay, so this movie, the only thing that this movie loves more than dolly shots is wide angle lenses.
Wide angle lenses, and I don't know if it's always dolly because even this is 86, so this seems like it could be like some very early Steadicam.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
Like a lot of.
But the move is still considered dolly, right?
Similar, yeah. There's a lot of these like sort of like flowing running shots.
Yeah.
Where I mean, it's not just like a straight shot back, right? But like they really kind of give it like
there's like a swoop.
There's like sort of swoops back and left or back and right. And they love to show. They put in these like super wide lenses, lots of distortion, really kind of like get you in the face of the actor, at least partially.
Well, that's mostly for scenes with the Kurgan, so it kind of makes sense because they want a distorted, horrific reality.
Right, and so you're really moving with these characters, almost always looking at them like in the face as they run.
Do you think one of the reasons why they chose wide angle lenses was to like help with the focus, since it's easier?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, in the sense that like that's probably why they're not using long lenses. But I think given the because none of those shots are like particularly like shallow.
Right.
If they were at like a more normal kind of like, or I say normal, but like a more a lens size is like closer to like our eyes, right? Like a 35 or 40-50, that kind of like more mid-range lens size. I think focusing would be pretty similar because it's not like they're on like a wireless system or anything like that, right? They're going to be, the focus puller is going to be right up on the dolly or have like
well, if you like what you said, it was Steadicam instead,
right? You might have something to like hold on or
okay.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of like wireless systems they would have been using in the mid 80s.
Okay.
If at all, if they were doing wireless focus pulling. But like nevertheless, it's not like they would have had like the AC would have had like a monitor look at it. It would have been focused by eye.
Right.
And so like I don't think it would have been a huge difference. However, I think it's about like proxemics in space and like how to place the camera.
Yeah.
And get them inside the action. That's harder to do, especially if you look at the apartment set. Because there's a scene where Kurgan has like come into Brenda's building and kicks down her door like the Kool-Aid Man and runs after her. And there's this very theatrical look, right? Like the room is full of haze. There's this music video kind of like red light pouring through the different rooms, and you're really like taken out of like reality.
It's a hyper reality,
right?
Yeah, they make it hyper real.
And in order to make that hyper real kind of look mesh with, I need to feel this camera movement. I think that they've clearly made the decision throughout this film in terms of like having a visual vocabulary, is to go wide, get close, and move fast.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they start with that it could be a crane shot. It could be a wire shot, very similar to, if you've ever seen the Library of Congress shot in All the President's Men. The beginning of All the President's Men, there's like...
is it like the front window shot that opens up Psycho?
No, not quite. So it's like a top-down shot.
Okay.
Robert Redford and I believe is it Dustin Hoffman?
Yeah,
Dustin Hoffman. They're like going through like research at the Library of Congress.
Okay.
Trying to find information, of course, on the Richard Nixon conspiracy. Spoilers for the first like 10 minutes of that movie.
Spoilers for Watergate.
Yeah. And like it seems like a normal kind of like overhead shot, but as it pulls up, it's like impossibly pulling.
Okay.
Because they put the camera on a wire they rigged to like the top of the building, and it's like on a winch, like on a chain winch, and they're just pulling the camera up. So I don't know if it's like a ridiculous crane shot or a similar kind of wire shot in Madison Square Garden.
But for the Library of Congress shot, the reason why it seems impossibly far away is because it's on a very wide lens, is what you're saying.
I don't know how wide the lens is.
Oh, okay.
It's just we go from this like very like close kind of like perspective of them like kind of going through, and it just keeps going up and up and up. And it's well past like what a crane shot would be. And you can tell it's not zooming. Right. I mean, maybe it's zooming a little bit, but it's not like you're not getting that kind of like Jaws kind of like perspective shit when like it like zollies. Right. It's just like, oh, the camera's still going. Oh, it's still, we're like way up here. The camera's still going. There's like this huge sweeping shot in Madison Square Garden at the opening fight of the movie.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's like swing on this acrobatic wire. I don't know if it is or if it's a crane.
It looks like a crane to me.
Yeah,
you know?
It's an enormous shot, and it is sweeping, and then it flies into the vomitorium, and we of course come back to
Connor
McLeod gets up and goes out into the parking lot.
Well, not quite, because he just sits there and he broods all dark except for that eyelight on him. Right. And then there was that, mustachioed New Yorker sitting with the pork pie hat yelling at the wrestling match, kill him.
Yeah, there is something to like, there are moments in this movie where that vocabulary sort of like switches from this very like theatrical, fantastical, hyper real music video kind of thing to a similar kind of theatrical but like noir look. And it's not like jarring in any way. No, sometimes you'll have a scene where it's like, a very noir kind of highlight hitting Connor McLeod, or you see it in the precinct, with even though it's like a daytime interior, they'll still have these like big slashes of light coming through like the transom windows and that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, the camera, it's very smooth. It's all very smooth. I think the smoothest shot I saw was when Brenda is at the bar and then Connor's there. And so they kind of meet for the first time. And then Brenda leaves the bar and then Connor leaves the bar. So it's outside and Connor just stepped out of the bar and then he starts walking into the background, but then the camera like dollies.
Yeah, pulls back to show Brenda behind the pillar.
Yeah. I think that might be my favorite shot in the movie.
Yeah, as much as the camera work is amazing, I spent the whole movie looking at the lighting. And it's just like dreamy 80s backlight. It's so...
Well, this has to be a dreamy kind of movie.
It's hyper real.
Yeah. And, it's about immortals fighting in New York during the 80s. I mean, there's no reality in that. Except, because who wants to live forever?
Right.
There's
also like, some of the, well, I think there's something to be said of like how medieval the Scottish scenes look. Certainly more medieval than like English Renaissance or Scottish Renaissance, which are around the same period.
No, this feels like
it feels like
Middle Ages. Maybe not quite Dark Ages, but a little bit after that.
Right, but then you get to, I believe the scenes. I can't remember if they say if it's in England or in Boston.
Boston, the dueling scene.
Right, but it looks like Barry Lyndon.
Yeah.
That looks straight out of Barry Lyndon.
Yeah, absolutely.
With, it's so much like softer than everything else in the movie. I think, I don't know if this was intentional or not, or if they just like shot in Scotland, but like everything's overcast.
Oh, they shot on location, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of course, like, is a very different look to everything in New York, which is very hard light all the time.
Yeah.
With like, they're bringing in softer stuff for the close-ups, but there's so much hard light and mixed light throughout the movie. And then whatever's like on location in Scotland or on stage in, I believe part of this movie is like on stage in England.
For like interiors.
Right. A lot of that stuff is just so overcast and soft. And like there's not like a ton of shape, but like except when it's all like backlit silhouette stuff between Sean Connery and
Kurgan?
Well, a little bit there, yeah, because it's so theatrical.
Okay.
But
Connor.
When Ramirez and McLeod are training, you have all these like silhouetted
A lot of helicopter shots with them being up high up on peaks where they would have had to have a helicopter
get on there.
Yeah.
Well, also there's and I don't know if they were silhouetted because of like stunt double or if that's just what the look that they wanted. But those cut really well with the helicopter landscape shots of New York City, all the skyline shots that are also just like total silhouette, and they're like crushed so hard. And I don't know if that's the print that we're seeing or if it's just that dark. Like that's how they shot it. But there's like, it really goes between these like very tight, very close kind of like hyper real things, these very like smooth, kind of more slightly longer, but still kind of like more natural kind of like lens sizes. Middle of the road kind of lens sizes that still have that like really clean kind of like dolly and maybe Steadicam kind of movement. Same with the crane stuff. And then like these just massive sweeping vistas that are just like, and that basically those are the three kinds of shots that you have in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I don't know where to go to next from here. Because you know, you're talking about like the landscapes of Scotland because they film all of Scotland, like the Scotland scenes are all during the day. Yeah. And it's of course so they can see the Scottish landscapes. But most of the New York scenes, especially the landscape of New York, those shots, I think most of those were at night. Am I wrong? Yeah,
there's only a couple during the day.
Yeah. And those are probably just for establishing shots, probably.
Yeah, right? I think I'm trying to think. I know there's like one or two when the cops are at the newspaper stands.
Oh yeah.
And that's during the day.
Yeah, but that's not like a landscape shot. That's just
I think there might be one like a little bit before that, and then there's I think maybe another one. I don't think they have one outside his house.
Okay, yeah, no, they don't.
No, so I think the majority of the daytime New York stuff is interior,
right?
With the exception of maybe two scenes, we almost always see New York as this nighttime city.
Yeah, to contrast with the day of, Scotland, Scottish Highlands. But I think the most notable.
In short, there's not a lot of sunshine in this movie.
Well, the only sunshine. Well, that's true.
There's not a lot of sunshine in Scotland.
Overcast in Scotland. Yeah, you're right. But I think the best scene that shows that the neon New York skyline is the one where they're the love scene.
Oh
yeah. But you can see nipple. You can see nipple.
It was the 80s.
That's true.
That was all you could see.
Yeah, I think this is rated R.
Because of the decapitation.
Yeah, that's true. But like, it's a very light R. Yeah,
it's not a hard R.
No, not at all. Yeah, but I mean, for a canon film.
Oh yeah.
This is like high art. This is like high art for a canon film.
Well, you keep calling it a canon film. How much of it is canon? Because it's like, clearly it's got some of that in it, but I don't know.
I don't think any other studio would have made a movie like this.
Well, Studio Canal, clearly.
Well, yeah, but not by themselves.
If we're to talk about like insane kind of stuff, insane levels of BS, I want to get kind of weird with the logic of being an Immortal.
Okay.
And the logic of being a Highlander. Because there's something that I was thinking about while I was watching this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I were a Highlander and I couldn't drown, which is clearly have a scene dedicated to that.
Okay, go on. We'll talk about it.
I would build an undersea like Naboo fortress in the East River.
Okay. The East River.
Yeah, right, because like I'm assuming that he can like feel the pull of like where the gathering is going to be when he assumes the identity of Montagu or whoever.
Okay.
When he first acquires the house in Hudson Yards, I think is where he lives.
Like in the 1700s.
Right, in the 1700s. So by that point, like the gathering's in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And like clearly he's been in the United States long enough to have the Boston Common duel with the British guy.
Right.
And so like if he feels the pull and that's where he knows it's going to be, build an underwater fortress, dude. Go full Gungan.
Okay. Well, so God, this movie kind of bugs me because, like, even though this movie started the franchise, the TV show has the rules.
Right.
Okay. They have rules about how to be a Highlander. Okay. So if you drown, it's not like you can breathe underwater, which is shown in this movie. If you drown, you die, but you're resurrected, but like just enough to like walk a little bit, and then you drown again. Because that was a plot point in one of the Highlander episodes.
I see.
Yeah.
So that debunks my...
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's like, which rules went out? You know, like the movie that first started it, or, you know, the TV show that, you know, really thought about the rules and the universe and really fleshed it out in a way that a movie can.
Right. Speaking of rules and like how to be a Highlander, you mentioned that there's like good Highlanders, bad Highlanders.
Yeah.
Should we unpack how problematic it could have been for MacLeod to have acquired his initial wealth during the colonial era? Because clearly MacLeod has like 400-year colonial investments that are still paying off with that house.
Well,
and the inheritances he leaves to himself and then eventually to Rachel. He did fight the Nazis, though. Or at least one.
Yeah, he did fight the Nazis. Well, I'm sure. Well, I mean, it depends on where he was during the problematic time.
Well, clearly, he was going by the name Montagu. I wonder if he started a sandwich chain.
Okay.
So he took on this, like, noble English name, right? Earl of Montagu, presumably, right?
That was just for one lifetime.
Lifetime, sure. But then he kept going on, and he inherited.
Well, maybe he was like the patriot, and he paid. He didn't have slaves. He paid his workers, and somehow with paid labor, he was just as wealthy as the slave holding plantation. So maybe he had wealth from like the 1500s, and so he wasn't. He didn't have to be morally compromised when he came over to the United States. So
I mentioned Highlander meets Mad Max with a dash of Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah.
But what are the ramifications of Connor MacLeod jumping around the American Revolution with a katana? Because he mentions, 1780. He was there in 1783. The first balloon flight in France and all of those things. There's another version.
That's a great scene, by the way. Like, oh my God, I love that scene. Like, unironically, I love that scene.
1783, that was a good year?
Yeah. Yeah, he sells it so well. All these actors sell this movie so well. It's
the movie
great.
Would not work without this cast.
Yes, absolutely.
Even Sean Connery.
Yeah. Okay. So for the Kurgan.
Yeah.
Originally, they wanted Sting to be the Kurgan.
That's wonderful.
Okay, but he wouldn't do it. But he said he did a movie with Clancy Brown and recommended him. And the movie that Sting did, I think it's like an adaptation of Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's how Clancy Brown became the Kurgan. And I fucking love Clancy Brown. I fucking love Clancy Brown. Because he was always kind of that guy. But when I like first noticed his name was when I was in my 20s. And he was in a show on HBO when HBO just started doing prestige TV called Carnival. Do you know that show?
No.
Oh, it's great. It's like set during the Depression. And it's like modern fantasy, but the modern times is during the Oppression America. And so it's about a carnival that, and they have all these weird, fantasy, magic kind of people doing odd things, as they travel across, what do you call it? The Dust Bowl.
Right.
But Clancy Brown, he plays a Father Conklin kind of priest, where he goes on a radio show and he like gains these magical powers of like charisma. So he becomes like a political force over the airwaves, and his sister is played by, I have no better way to put this, but the butch woman from Streets of Fire.
Oh, Amy Madigan.
Yeah. She's his sister. And there's kind of weird stuff between them.
Like Star Wars.
In the current. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, that's when I got to know Clancy Brown. But he's also a voice actor. He's Mr. Krabs from.
Yeah, SpongeBob.
Yeah, SpongeBob. He was on Gargoyles, which is, one of the best cartoon shows. I think he's.
Does he on Gargoyles? Does he do this voice?
He's.
I know his name. Like that kind of.
He's the voice. No, he's one of the voices of the Pack.
I've never seen Gargoyle.
Oh, okay, that's not surprising.
But he did a movie with Stingo.
Yeah.
And there's an alternate universe out there
with Sting.
Right, well, where Stuart Copeland is on the soundtrack banging shit, and every little thing's a kind of magic.
Yeah, that's a different movie.
That is a different movie.
That is a very different movie.
Without the great Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. Let's hold out. Let's hold out for when we talk about that. Okay. Because the next thing I kind of want to talk about, since we're talking about the Kurgan and Clancy Brown, is the battle on the Castle Grayskull playset.
Yeah.
Where there are prefabricated breaks in the walls, and when he swings his sword, they fall away. It's great.
Was there, because this was a little bit before my time.
Yeah.
In the time of Highlander and later on the Highlander TV series.
Yeah.
Was there like He-Man levels of like toy merchandising for the show?
No. Because this wasn't seen as a kids movie, and it wasn't like Dune. No, this movie was a bomb. Okay, it failed. It became a cult classic on VHS and then cable, and that's how they got. That's why they made Highlander 2, was because it was really big, on home video.
Right.
So, do you want a bit of spoilers?
Go for it. Spoil me.
They bring back Ramirez.
Of course. Do they glue his head back on? Is he sewn together? Like
no. I will tell you with certainty that that's not what happened.
Okay.
But they basically, the money for the sequel, they were like, you have to have Sean Connery in the sequel. They're like, well, he's dead. How are we going to bring him back? And they're like, we don't care, but you better bring him back.
Is it like Deadpool where he's a tiny head?
No.
Okay.
No. Highlander 2 is not good. So,
Dan, have you seen Highlander 2?
Yeah, have you seen Highlander 2, Dan?
No.
Oh, that's good to know, buddy. Yeah.
I also thought that the sword fighting was almost as good as the Star Wars prequels.
I mean, that's a conversation, and I don't know how geeky you want this conversation to get.
As geeky as you want.
Okay, so the thing is technically the sword fighting scenes in the prequel trilogy, technically they are very good. But do they have that emotion? That's the thing. So
the one with Darth Maul, yeah.
Okay. What do you think about the one for Revenge of the Sith?
Well, there's a bunch of them.
Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Well, Mustafar.
Yeah, Mustafar.
It's a little not a little long. It doesn't have quite the impact.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is just like a little too flashy is not the right word, but
a little too operatic, maybe.
No, I think the operatic element is great. It's just that like the hits don't really have impact, right?
Okay.
It's like
they're just
it's a little too manicured. It's a little too like it's too much of a dance, right?
Right.
Yeah, I just like I wish like it had a little bit more weight to it, right?
Right.
Almost like that scene really reminds me
Like
of,
maybe some of them started bleeding a bit, like Obi-Wan or Anakin.
Well, no, what it really reminds me of
Uh-huh.
is the duel between the prince and the dragon in the original Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
Like, but that has a lot of like weight and impact to it, and it's just like slash and slash, and it's not like ba, 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 ba.
Right.
And I think that's a way to be like operatic and theatrical and big and huge, in a way that's like referential to like that's referential to like medieval unicorn tapestry.
Right.
That's that's the composition of like an Ivan Earl painting. It's like huge and sweeping and has these dynamic lines, and like Star Wars does a lot of that. This movie Highlander does a lot of that.
I don't think it does, because I think the Highlander sword choreography, I think it's a little more gritty. It's
yeah, for sure.
A lot more pared down. Kind of like Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to its credit, like, it's great that it is. So.
I would almost want to see it more composed and fantastic.
Oh, I do not.
Well, that's there's.
But you haven't seen the show, so because like they do sword fight choreography like every show, but it's on the show budget. So, but I love that. So, yeah. So what else do you want to talk about? Is there anything else on your mind about this movie? Well, Queen.
Yeah, Queen, my favorite band.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what is there. I mean, there's a huge, for me, like, I'm intimately familiar with like the album version of this soundtrack, which is, of course, is quite different than like what we see in the movie. Most notably, like every Queen fan ever is hunting for like the lost track, the lost version of Freddie Mercury doing New York, New York.
Yeah.
Here I come, New York.
Famously sung on Gremlins 2, The New Batch by Tony Russell. Is it Tony Russell or Tony Randall?
Tony Randall.
Yeah. Definitely two very different people.
Here I come, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freddie Mercury famously did not like his version of the song.
But like,
and it did not make the album.
Yeah, but
no full version out.
The worst Freddie Mercury song is like
amazing.
The best of, anybody else.
Yeah. I think Hot Space has some great songwriting.
Okay.
It is, I think most people would say it is the worst Queen album.
Is that the one with the sad robot?
No.
Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
That's Frank the Robot on the cover of News of the World, who returns from Machines and Back to Humans in the live show.
Okay.
Which is from the album The Works, which is after Hot Space.
Okay.
So Hot Space was 1982.
Okay.
The Works was 1984, and A Kind of Magic was 1986 with this movie.
Okay.
And like there are some songs from other Queen records in this movie, like Hammer to Fall from 1984, famously sung at the Live Aid concert a year prior, is on the radio for the Marine who like.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the Travis Bickle scene. Travis Bickle shows up in this movie.
Well, he's a paranoid Marine with a bunch of guns in his car.
Yeah, Travis Bickle, right? Well, I haven't seen Taxi Driver.
He's ready to blow them away before he even knows what's going on.
Yeah.
He's getting the guns out of his car. He's got the Uzi in his hand. He's like, what's going on over there?
Well, he's seeing this big white man,
7 foot tall dude.
Yeah. Sword fighting with this smaller black man. So, of course he has to shoot them both. I'm sure it makes sense.
Right.
Sure,
and then, of course, when he's in the hospital getting questioned by the police sergeant and his detective, right? He's like, I can't even protect myself anymore.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
I don't know. I don't know how that happened. I'm guessing they wrote it as a joke, But they wrote it. What they had to do was they had to get the police suspicion off of
Nash.
Yeah, Connor.
Fox McCloud.
Yeah. And so that's how they decided to do it.
Well, they needed a witness to say that it was a dude with the scar around his neck and a huge dude.
Yes, but you did not have to use Travis Bickle to do that. Is all.
Is it really a Travis Bickle kind of character?
Well, I wouldn't know.
Because Travis Bickle does have a bizarre internal sense of justice, and I think this guy's just like, "Argh."
Okay. You could be right. You could be right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We move on from that scene.
Well, I love his outfit. Where he's got the shirt. I think it says something like "Moscow, eat this."
Yeah. It has like, some weird.
He's a.
So this is back during the Cold War for sure.
Oh yeah, red-blooded jingoist American kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna blow your face off with an Uzi.
Yeah.
I love how none of them care that he's got a full auto Uzi in the back of his car.
He saw Red Dawn 10 times in the theater when it came out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Red Dawn?
Yeah, Wolverines.
Okay, good. The original Red Dawn?
Yeah. I haven't seen the new one.
Okay,
or the new one that's like now 10 years old, but
yeah. The latest one.
Sure.
Okay.
The remake.
Yeah, I can't wait until we start to get into John Milius movies. The first one we're going to watch is Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, okay.
Which he worked on a script, but I believe so did Oliver Stone.
John Milius.
Yeah.
So John Milius did like the Conan speeches.
Well, he also did the Will of Woe, where Conan just walks in a circle for about 15 years, and it makes him, big and strong.
Yeah, because that's John Milius logic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I will take your women.
No, it's what is the best thing in life, and it's to defeat your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
See, Kurgan follows that philosophy for sure.
Yeah, but Conan, Conan's he's a lot easier on the ladies. So
somehow,
yeah, that's
despite hearing their lamentations.
Well, I mean. And so at that time in Conan the Barbarian, he's like a gladiator.
Right.
So that's why he's so gung-ho about, killing people, because that's all he's known. And what happens is his owner, he starts feeling bad for Conan because it's like, he can see his potential, like him, being a warrior slave isn't the best for him. He should be more. So he frees them. But at first, this is all the life that Conan knows. And so it's like, those scenes where a boy has to get rid of his dog, but the dog wants to follow. So you have to act mean to the dog to get him to go. That happens to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So it's like flip the script on Spartacus.
Yeah.
There's no slave revolt. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger has to go to a farm upstate.
No. He just has to, go out on his own and find his glory on his own and himself. Yeah. I can't wait to watch the Conan.
Right. Is that going to be a double feature with Beastmaster?
No. It has to be a double feature with Conan the Destroyer.
Right.
And then once, the show has an understanding of the theatrical language of fantasy movies of that time, then we can move on to Beastmaster, because Beastmaster was clearly inspired by Conan the Barbarian.
And was this movie not?
What, Highlander?
Yeah. Because there's a component, clearly. At the very least with the Kurgan character. Yeah,
that's fair. But I mean, like, this movie, it's such a weird take on it, though. So, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe the producers were into the movie based on that, but I don't think the writers were. Like, I think the writers wanted to explore more about, what it takes to be, an immortal, someone who lives forever, and the drama behind that.
It's very, very similar to like wuxia, xianxia, and like other like Chinese immortal fantasies.
Okay.
I think there's like what they call like a cultivation kind of thing, where it's like you have to like cultivate your power over time.
Okay.
And one of the tropes is like you have to like defeat your enemies and absorb their power.
Oh, okay.
And like very often like gain their knowledge, and in doing so they get to live longer. And so you have like these heroes fighting to the last man, and they're all like 4,000 years old because they've killed everyone else and absorbed like their life force.
You remind me of that quote from The Critic. When I die, you can eat my head and it will give you strength. Yeah, if you were born after the year 2000, trust me, you should watch The Critic. Yeah, it's great. It's a great show. A lot of millennials who are now into film and especially film criticism owe it all to watching The Critic. So, which features John Lovitz.
Right. As the creator of Letterboxd.
Is he?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was making a terrible joke.
Oh, okay.
That he's the forebear of all of the millennials on Letterboxd.
Oh, yeah. That is true. So, yeah.
The limited knowledge that I have of like John Lovitz in The Critic is it's like this because it's like almost like a weird predecessor to like the original Peter Griffin character.
That's fair.
Who's small and bald and has a talking dog, but is
that's right. But John Lovitz is a very short man, and Peter Griffin is more of a larger dope. So,
well, not in the original pilot. In the original pilot, he looks almost identical to the Critic character.
Okay, that's fair. But the thing is I have Southland Tales, where John Lovitz looks he looks as sinister as Albert Brooks does in The Driver. Yeah, so we'll see sinister John Lovitz at some point on the show.
They're speaking of like Highlander meets whatever. Highlander meets The Patriot. Highlander meets Mad Max with a little bit of Brotherhood of Steel, right? Cannibal for Leibowitz. As we're talking about this and like The Gathering and The Prize, I keep thinking of Highlander meets Rat Race with John Lovitz.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what The Gathering is, right? I mean,
The Gathering is the Rat Race.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely thematic parallels. For sure.
Oh God, if John Lovitz was in this movie.
He'd be the first to go. Yeah.
And there's me only one.
I would never think to do a John Lovitz impression.
That was not very good.
No, it wasn't. But it's still better than what I could do. So
I think it'd be so much funnier if he was the police captain or police sergeant or whatever, like trying to like
catch. But if you played it straight, oh my God, that would be incredible. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I almost forgot.
Oh no.
There's a diopter shot in this movie.
There's a few.
The one that I'm talking about is when Candy comes into the Kurgan's room.
Oh, right, in the latex stuff, and we see his reaction on the other side. Yeah. It is a split. Probably it's not the only. I think there's also a split when Brenda starts following, not on the initial pullback, but like right after. I may be wrong. It could just be like very deep focus. But when
there's a lot of really deep focus in this movie, so
yeah. But like when Brenda first comes across and there's like all that smoke in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kurgan just like comes out of nowhere to kill McLeod again. And there's like that first duel. Yeah. I think there's a split when Brenda's like first following him. There's a few of these kind of things where like in the hyper-real theatrical stuff that's not moving really fast,
mm-hmm.
It almost seems like they have to sort of like mesh their composition with like what they're like physically able to do, like the constraints of like trying to. It's hard to tell like what's backlot and what's location.
Yeah.
But something like that seems very like you couldn't possibly get it like in focus at the same time without like a crazy kind of diopter,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like all deep focus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they clearly solved that problem everywhere else by just going super wide and moving very fast,
Mm-hmm.
or having a crane just sweep across frame.
You know what you just got me thinking about? So you said that Russell Mulcahy, he's a
Music video director.
did he do the music video for Princes of the Universe?
Maybe. Hold on, let me look it up. Is that the only song from this album with a video other than One Vision? Because I know One Vision has a video.
Yeah, it was directed by Russell Mulcahy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, they also used, they obviously use the set,
right,
or like, parts of the set where,
at Elstree, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so the Silver Cup stage was shot in London.
Okay.
Yeah, at Elstree.
Yeah, where Freddie Mercury battles Christopher Lambert.
Yeah.
And Christopher Lambert has his katana, and Freddie Mercury has his microphone stand, his half microphone stand.
Yeah. So I want to see if Russell Mulcahy did any other. He also did the video for A Kind of Magic.
Oh, okay.
But if we want to go through this, because like the year after,
mm-hmm.
You did an amazing music video.
Okay.
Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Almost as scandalous, but not quite as Stroke Me. Yeah. But you mentioned A Kind of Magic.
Yeah. It's a kind of magic.
I could be wrong.
Uh-huh.
I could be absolutely wrong about this.
Yeah.
But I think they gave the script to Queen, and Freddie Mercury saw that line, and he was very inspired by it. So
well, it comes up a lot, even if it's not just the text, but that little there are melody parts.
Mm-hmm.
But unusual for Queen. There are melody parts that kind of repeat across the album,
mm-hmm.
Even if they're little bass melodies or little hooks. Don't Lose Your Head has bits that come up in other songs. So we don't know how much time in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Famously, One Vision is halfway between being a new song and a rework, or an original demo of A Kind of Magic.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of lyrical references of there can be only one.
Yeah.
In One Vision, which does not appear at all in the movie.
What about is there a soundtrack?
So A Kind of Magic is the soundtrack album.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't have the score. It just has all of the songs that Queen did.
Songs. Okay.
Minus New York, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Plus One Vision and Friends Will Be Friends, which are not on the album.
Oh, okay. They're not on the album.
Or they're on the album. They're not in the movie.
Oh, okay.
And then Hammer to Fall came out a couple of years before, right?
Okay.
But that's also in the movie,
right?
As it's something that the Travis Bickle character is listening to in the car.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, if you have not seen the music video to Princes of the Universe, you have to be listeners of this show. you just have to watch it. Is it not epic and great, Alice?
Oh, it's marvelous.
Right.
It's huge and fantastical. And there's nothing greater than Freddie Mercury with his iconic like microphone stand, just like battling out against like a claymore.
With
or is it the
lightning
katana?
strikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. One other interesting thing about this movie. So when I was in film school, I actually did the history of animation class. And one of the things that they talked about is that animation wasn't just about, animated movies or TV shows. A lot of animation is for visual effects, for live action movies.
Of course.
And it's very apparent, in the climax of the movie. But it's also done with all the lightning strikes and so forth like that. So, yeah.
But in a way, to me, that is very like less kind of like schlocky sci-fi kind of like visual effects, and more like larger than life music video special effects.
Well, I grew up with those kind of visual effects, so they're just visual effects to me, except for the ghost demons.
Right.
I'll never get over it. I'll never get that. Is a little schlocky. That is a little schlocky. I think they could have made that more grounded. Maybe just more wraithly rather than demony. Especially since it's the moment where he is becoming one with everything, and that's supposed to be a good thing. So I don't know. Is there anything that's you done? Yeah.
I'm trying to like look up the like composition of the songs on the record.
Okay.
Fun fact: A Kind of Magic was not written by Freddie Mercury.
Really?
It's Roger Taylor with a little bit of Spike Edney.
Okay.
And if you're not familiar, Spike Edney is like I guess like the unofficial, sort of semi-official fifth member of Queen.
Oh, okay.
So he's a music director, who has been who's played with a lot of like enormous kind of like acts, and very often doing like not just like tributes, but like when Elton John wants to go with like the big ensemble and stuff, right? He'll get like Spike Edney's like that music director.
Okay.
And in the 80s, like Freddie Mercury wanted to transform the Queen live shows into something truly enormous and truly larger than
arena rock.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, beyond the arena rock that they were doing, to something that was truly like capture the attention of everyone in front of them.
Okay.
And that would involve Freddie Mercury playing less piano and more leaps and bounds and frontmanning.
Yeah.
And so Spike Edney first came in as like keyboardist and additional guitars. And you can see him in the background a little bit in like Live Aid and stuff where he's just barely out of shot.
God, you keep talking about Live Aid, and I keep wanting to watch that thing. Oh my God, it's so great.
And well, all throughout the 80s, starting in, I believe, 82 or 83.
I just keep thinking about how much he fucking rocks just by warming up.
And Spike Edney has been, in some capacity, like with the band ever since, and he still tours with Queen plus Adam Lambert.
Okay.
And previously Queen plus Paul Rogers, and he's like, I guess you could say like the musical director of like the Queen live act.
Okay.
And in the 80s, when they were doing a lot of stuff with like the Yamaha DX7s and other synthesizers, because for a long time they had a policy of like any synth effect that they wanted to use, they would recreate it on like the Brian May Red Special.
Okay.
And they would bow it with like they would take like a coin and like bow the string right by the pickup and like try and get like a cello sound or like a synth sound that's like infinitely sustaining. They would do like all kinds of crazy things on this guitar, so that they were like, and they would have on the album no synths used as like a hallmark that they were like really going out of their way to do something like that was different and creative, and they weren't like but of course that has a ceiling.
Yeah.
And they kept going. And so like Spike Edney has been this like not necessarily invisible, but maybe like kind of behind the curtain force within the band, and is kind of front and center from the moment you hear the soundtrack
Okay.
on this record, because that kind of like those like synth parts and stuff are arranged by Spike Edney.
Okay.
Although some of the songs still have their kind of like original Queen, Brian May kind of arrangements, right? With that like that pedal bass and that sort of Mantovani string sound, right? Those like glittering strings that kind of come up. And even though it's not on a string instrument, or I mean it is, it's not on a string section, it's maybe a guitar, those guitar harmonies and synth parts and things like that. But some of it, I guess, like the more kind of pop stuff, right? Like a kind of magic.
Okay.
Because Ryder Taylor not only did he write Kind of Magic, he also wrote Radio Gaga, and they have a very similar, similar sound to them. And that's got a Spike Edney arrangement on it.
Okay, interesting. Dan, do you have any final thoughts about Highlander?
No.
Very well said, Daniel. Very well said. Thank you. Before we go, we'd like to give a shout out to the bestest friends of the show on our Patreon. Thank you, Brian, for your support of the show. If you'd like to be one of our bestest friends of the show, then check out our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/yourmoviemymoviepodcast. And thanks for listening. We talk about Highlander a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the movie. I grew up with the movie. So, I also grew up with the TV show. It's on Tubi if you guys want to watch it.
It's on Tubi for now, as of recording.
Yeah, as of recording. I don't think it probably won't go anywhere. And if it does leave Tubi, I'm sure it'll rotate back in. So
it'll be somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think this is ever going to be a movie that's like terribly hard to find.
No. It's a cult classic. I mean, I'm trying to think. Did Canon Films did a better movie than Highlander?
Depends how much you like Chuck Norris.
That's fair.
I think the answer is no.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, what are the other movies that they've done that are even like remotely decent?
Right.
Not to like slight Canon Films in that way, but like off the top of my head, what can I think of that's good?
Yeah. Let's see. They did Bloodsport.
Yeah. As of 1986, like their big franchise was Chuck Norris Missing in Action, Invasion USA, and Delta Force.
Right. Well, they also did the Death Wish sequels, but not Death Wish itself. So.
Oh, at the same time they were making this movie, they made Cobra.
We are definitely gonna watch Cobra. We're definitely gonna watch Cobra. So funny thing.
Are you gonna watch Breakin' 2?
Breaking 2 is an accident, though. Breaking and Breaking 2 are accidents. Okay. It's like, do those count? There
are Golan and Globus movies.
Okay. Maybe those two movies are better than Highlander. They're definitely more historical, eventful, because they put hip hop. They put hip hop on the big screen. So
there's also, John Cassavetes' Love Streams.
Okay.
Which, I mean, if you like,
I've never seen a John Cassavetes movie.
Oh, okay. Well, it's that sort of cinema verite, documentary realism kind of thing.
From what I understand, he does like very gritty drama. From what I understand,
yeah, and like
bittersweet kind of stuff.
Yeah, in the vein of like your mid-century neorealists.
Right. Bicycle Thieves.
Yeah.
Which I love. So we're saying Highlander is like the Bicycle Thieves of 80s fantasy movies. That's what we're saying, right?
We talked about Beastmaster and Conan
Uh-huh.
and the relationship with Highlander.
Uh-huh.
Golan and Globus, the year after they produced this movie,
Yeah.
they produced Masters of the Universe.
I know. But I said a good movie. And I have memories. I have fond memories of that movie. I was a Boy Scout at the time. Well, no. I wasn't a Boy Scout.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Boy Scout for like maybe a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Wolf Cub. I was never a Tiger Cub, and I was never a Weebelo. But I did get the Boys Life magazine.
Right.
And in one of the magazines, they had like a section for that kind of promoted He-Man, the Masters of the Universe movie. So, and yeah, when I saw that movie, I was very disappointed because do you know the plot of the movie?
No.
So the plot of the movie is that Skeletor has conquered Eternia.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little alien named Grildor, and he created I think it's called the Cosmic Key, which allows them to open portals to other worlds. So they go to 1980s, United States, because they couldn't afford sets to do a whole movie.
Right, and they go back in time to save the whales.
That's Star Trek 4.
Okay.
But yeah, time travel does get involved in that movie.
So do they have a fight on the Castle Grayskull playset with the tower falling apart, or is that not in Masters of the Universe?
It's funny you ask that, Alice, because the movie ran out of budget before they could finish the movie. So the director, he paid to have the ending done himself, which is just this posing between Dolph Lundgren and God, what's his name? I can't believe I forget his name. Frank Langella. Okay, Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they just do these poses with while being backlit by heroic light and then villain light.
Uh-huh.
And then Skeletor falls. But then there's an MCU moment where Skeletor pops up out of a vat of bubbling green goo and says, "I'll be back."
Can we really say that it's an MCU moment? Shouldn't we just be saying that these are Masters of the Universe moments?
Well, considering there has never been a Masters of the Universe live action movie since, no. No.
But there is a Mattel Cinematic Universe now.
Oh, is there?
Well, there is Barbie.
Oh, if it's one movie, is it really a universe?
I think by the logic of the Barbie movie, yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen Barbie yet, so.
Well, I
don't know the details of all
think
that.
there's a universe where Ken doll could travel to Masters of the Universe world. Like Ken could become He-Man.
Okay.
And He-Man could be flat down there.
Okay. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I know in the comic, this isn't Masters of the Universe, and it's not Mattel. But in the comic books, there is a Hanna-Barbera kind of universe going that combines the Flintstones, with Space Ghost.
And the Jetsons, of course.
And the Jetsons and Captain Caveman.
Does it also include Harvey Birdman and C-Lab?
Well, not Harvey Birdman, but Birdman. Yes. And Blue Falcon. And I'm guessing, I don't know about C-Lab, though. So maybe. Yeah. Okay. So are you up for watching Highlander 2 for the show at some point?
Highlander 2. I'll do the Highlander show.
Okay, you'll do the TV show?
Yeah, I'll do maybe 2 or 3 episodes of the show.
Oh, no. If we're going to do the Highlander TV show, that's a commitment.
How many episodes are in that? Is it
I think there's at least 6 seasons, I'm sure.
Is it 22 seasons?
Yeah. This is back in the day, so.
And they're hour-long episodes?
They're hour-long episodes.
Maybe we could do the first course of the season, the first half.
Okay.
Is there a mid-season kind of break or peak?
It's very episodic.
Oh, we'll do 4 episodes.
That's it?
That's that's 3.5 hours of media.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe we'll watch until I get tired, and then
until you get bored with it.
Right, and
okay,
and then we'll talk about that amount of material.
Okay. Maybe I'll put it on the Patreon, which our listeners can go to patreon.com/YourMovieMyMoviePodcast to check out. We have a couple of tiers. We have a $1 tier where you can check out the monthly newsletter that me or Dan write. And at the $5 tier, you can listen to audio recordings that we do of every newsletter. And there's also a $10 tier where you can become a bestest friend of the show and have your name said on the show, like Brian. Brian is a bestest friend of the show, and we just want to thank you so much for your financial support, Brian. And we also want to thank all the listeners for whatever kind of support they can provide to the show. Thank you very much. Me and Dan here both appreciate it so much. Thank you.
And now here's Dan with our sponsored message.
Only we had sponsors.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Alice, are you a subscriber to the You Movie My Movie Patreon?
No.
Why not?
Because I just listen on Spotify.
But you can check out our newsletters.
I could.
Okay. Well, thank you. This is getting cut. Okay. Well, I guess that's it for the show then.
Please leave it in.
I'll keep it. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Hey, you forgot.